Firecracker Chris Martin accuses Dakota Johnson of taking huge amount of money from him after breakup. Late afternoon in Malibu, the waves lapped gently against the long sandy beach behind the mansion where Chris Martin had just signed the deed. He sat quietly on the balcony, his gray hoodie slightly rumpled, his eyes staring out at the ocean. The sea breeze blew through his messy hair, not from a bad night's sleep, but from not having had a full night's sleep in a month. On the table in front of him was a half-squeezed glass of orange juice and a thick stack of legal documents. The last line of his separation agreement with Dakota Johnson was outlined in red. Agreement to pay a lump sum of $12.5 million. Chris smiled, not a happy smile, but a cold, tired, and somewhat bitter smile. I used to think she was different, he said softly, as if explaining to himself. They had come together at a time when they were both finding themselves. Chris, after his strangely civilized divorce from Gwyneth Paltrow, is learning to love again. He is no longer the young man who danced on stage with his eyes blazing. He is a grown man who has experienced glory, failure, depression, and awakening. Dakota, she has emerged from the shadow of the Griffiths-Johnson family, does not want to be Melanie's daughter, or Tippi Hedren's granddaughter, or Christian Gray's girl. They first met at a charity concert in Los Angeles. She sat in the second row, wearing sunglasses, and chuckled as Chris played Fix You, not because the song was good, but because of the hyper-focused look on his face as if he was saving the world. Chris saw that smile, and for some reason, after that night, he could not forget it. They fell in love slowly. No press coverage, no red carpet appearances holding hands, no public speeches. Just short trips, times when he would try out a few new tunes for her, or peaceful mornings on a farm in the north of England. Chris had thought this was it, the woman who could understand his silence, but then. Silence sometimes wasn't peace, it was a sign of distance. Dakota partied harder than Chris had imagined. Though she wasn't drunk or rowdy, her new relationships in the fashion and film worlds filled her calendar with events that Chris found exhausting just thinking about. He started to show up. She started going out alone. From "we" to "let's go." And from "are you okay" to "nothing." One night, Chris discovered that she had moved all her suitcases into a private apartment in West Hollywood that he didn't know she was renting. Someone like Chris Martin, who believed in energy, passion, and authenticity, couldn't understand it. He wasn't angry, he just felt lost. The breakup had been quiet. No press, no friends. They just didn't go anywhere together anymore, until the email from Dakota's lawyer landed in his inbox. The subject, post-separation financial agreement. Chris frowned. He read the entire 14-page document. A $12.5 million settlement was requested, as part of a financial re-establishment, for Dakota, who, according to the lawyer, had put several projects on hold to accompany Chris on international tours. No way, Chris repeated to himself. She doesn't need the money. She's Dakota Johnson. He was about to say no, but his legal team advised him, be quiet. Don't let the media get in. Money, for silence, and Chris hated it most to use money to get silence from someone he once loved. 2 weeks later, Dakota sent him a single text, I didn't want it to come to this. But I think I've invested a lot of emotion. I need to walk away with something. Chris simply replied, I've taken the most precious thing. I don't need anything else. But she didn't seem to understand that, or did understand, and took it anyway. Chris is not the type to make a fuss. For years, he has kept his private life away from the media, from his marriage to Gwyneth to being the father of 2 children. But this time, something made him unable to keep quiet. When the figure of $12.5 million began to leak on entertainment news forums, public opinion was immediately divided into two camps. One side believed that Dakota was only asking for what she deserved for the time she sacrificed her career for love. The other side strongly objected, saying that she took advantage of Chris's gullibility, a man who is gentle and forgiving. Chris said nothing, but he felt betrayed, not because of money, but because of principles. All his life he had fought for the truth, written music with real emotions, lived with real feelings. And now, he felt that those things were no longer real. One night in mid-June, Chris sat with his best friend, Coldplay guitarist Johnny Buckland, on the roof of his London studio. "Do you think she really loves me?" Chris asked, staring into space. Johnny didn't answer right away. He knew Chris wasn't asking because he wanted comfort. He was looking for something, like forgiveness. "I think she does, but not in the way you need." Chris laughed, half sarcastic, half heartbroken. "And I wrote her an entire album." What the public didn't know was that Chris had been quietly writing nearly 14 unreleased tracks, inspired by Dakota. Some of them had been mixed, including a song called Satellite Heart, which had never been released. Its lyrics: "You orbit my sky, but never land. I gave you gravity, you gave me silence." He wrote it after learning that Dakota was about to sign a major series deal with Amazon Studios, something she had said she wanted to put on hold to live a normal life with him. Across town, Dakota couldn't sleep either. She read every article, every critical comment. She wasn't heartless. She knew the price of Chris's silence, to let her take the blame for him. "He never said a word, but the whole world looked at me like a gold digger," Dakota wrote in her diary. The truth was, she hadn't asked for money to settle down. She wasn't poor, she wasn't lazy. But in the nearly 3 years she had been in a relationship with Chris, she had turned down no less than 8 major film projects, including a leading role in a Denis Villeneuve film, just to be able to accompany him on his world tour. And now, with their relationship broken, she had nothing left to hold her together amid her fading career. She loved him, but she was also a practical woman. Her lawyer, an older woman named Margot, said, "No one wins in a breakup. But at least you don't leave empty-handed." Dakota didn't want money. She wanted something worthwhile, but in the eyes of the public, money was the only thing they saw. After 3 weeks of silence, Chris decided to do something he had never done before: speak up. He chose not to give a tabloid interview. He posted a short article on Coldplay's official website, not sharing it on social media. "I had a deep, beautiful, emotional relationship with Dakota. Even though we are no longer together, I will always cherish what we had. All financial matters were resolved by mutual consent and professionals. I hope people don't look at her through the lens of judgment." The article was shocking because there was no accusation, but it also did not deny that something had happened. The world turned to ask, what happened? The answer lay in a hard drive that only Chris and Dakota knew about. It was where the rough recordings of the never-released album were kept. In a demo that lasted more than 7 minutes, Chris's voice trembled as she sang. "You held my hand in Barcelona, and dropped it in New York. You said forever, but packed quietly. I heard the silence in your suitcase." No one had ever heard that song, except Dakota. And when she heard it, she cried, in her small apartment in West Hollywood. She understood, the price of choice was not $12. $5 million. The price was never being his song.